Welcome back to the Triathlon Training Explained show powered by TrainingPeaks. It is the new year and hopefully you've already got your goals locked in for 2019. So now it's time to start working out how you're going to reach those, and having a coach can certainly help.
Employing a coach to give you your personalised training plan and individual sessions doesn't come cheap, so you want to get the most out of that investment. So today we're going to talk to you about getting the most out of your coach.
I'm presuming that you've already committed and chosen a coach to work with, whether on a one-to-one basis or as part of a club. Now, whether this is a new relationship or one that's already been going for several seasons, there are still numerous ways in which you can increase the benefit of this investment, making both yours and your coach's season more rewarding.
So before we get to the planning stage, it's vital that we work out the style and type of communication that our coach is going to use. Are they, for example, somebody who readily gives out compliments, or is something like "well done" a really big thing? I had a coach who was like that. So understanding that style and communication of the coach is really useful. But the same goes in reverse. They need to understand what you or we are feeling. So if you're tired or if you're feeling really good, it needs to be something that they understand.
Yeah, and staying on that track, you need to express to your coach what sort of athlete you are and whether you're someone who needs a lot of reassurance and encouragement, or if, say, just a thumbs up on a WhatsApp message is enough when you've done a strong session. And then also, how do you want to communicate? Does your coach want to spend quite a long time speaking on the phone, sort of every couple of days, to have really detailed feedback, or just a few comments on your online platform going to be enough for them? It is very much a two-way thing, so you need to work out what works for both of you, make a plan, and then stick to that.
Do make sure that you upload your training regularly so that your coach is able to spot trends, see if things aren't going so well, and then make adjustments accordingly. A lot of online platforms now have a scale that allows you to just pop down how you're feeling, which is really useful if you don't have a lot of time, or especially if your coach can't actually read the essays you write.
And remember, if things don't make sense or you want to know why you've been set something, then it is okay to ask, and your coach should actually welcome you wanting to know the why and the how for your sessions. And coaching language isn't uniform, so there might be a few things that maybe don't make sense. If you swap coaches, it might be worded differently. Just always make sure that you get clarification early on.
This is a vital part in the process, and making sure that you and your coach are on the same page with your goals is a lot more than just sticking a race in the diary and then off you go. You need to have a really serious discussion about how much time you're willing to commit, the hours you're able to put in, and just generally how seriously you are with the whole project. And that really has to be a thorough one-to-one discussion between you and your coach.
Yeah, and you probably are going to have that one big goal for the year, but also think about and discuss those smaller competitions, maybe times that you want to hit, power numbers that you want to get along the way. But then also find out what your coach has and what expectations and markers he thinks you should be hitting as the year goes on.
Both you and your coach need to be prepared to be flexible with your goals. Things change, life can get in the way, you might just not be able to cope with the training as well as you'd hoped. So it's really key that you have good, honest communication with your coach so that they can reassess those goals, and it just avoids any sort of burying your head in the sand and getting disappointed on race day.
Yeah, and once you've chosen your coach, you have to have 100% buy-in for it to work for both sides. And trust is the biggest part of any relationship. So you've got to be open and honest, like Fraser mentioned, and say you do have to miss a session for whatever reason it might be, then just put your hand up and say, yes, that's okay, because otherwise, how are you going to progress?
So you need to have an open conversation with your coach about lifestyle and the training that you can fit in. If you've got a busy family environment, or perhaps you work and travel a lot, then just let them know, because if they're forewarned, then it's going to be a lot easier for them to negotiate and work in those realities.
Coaching goes far beyond just setting a training program. When it comes to competition, it can be a stressful time. So you want to sit down long before your event with your coach and look at your race strategy. So discuss things such as nutrition, what equipment you might want to use, and also any variables that could happen on the day.
And as it gets closer to your race day, try and sit down and hone in the different targets with your coach. You'll have a good idea of what your form is and how you think you're going to be able to go in the race. And if you are lucky enough to have the coach with you on race day, try and make sure you have a discussion to work out how best to make the most of that opportunity.
No coach or athlete wants to have to deal with injury, of course, but when it does happen, communication really becomes key. Now, as an athlete, you might have niggles and you might think, oh, I want to ignore them, I don't want to admit to my coach. But being honest and admitting this early on means your coach can then adapt your training and hopefully prevent it becoming anything more serious further down the line.
And illness is similar. If you're feeling a little bit under the weather, you're probably going to be able to complete a session, but it might be best that you don't. So if you're able to take a day or maybe even 2 days off training, that's likely to save a week or more in the long run. So you have to chat about that with your coach, because if you don't tell them, how are they to know?
You might have your coach through a triathlon group as opposed to a one-on-one, and therefore your main contact time with them is going to be in your group sessions. And trust me, it's not just going to be you wanting their attention and wanting to have your questions answered. So just make sure that you're patient and you listen to the answers that they're actually giving to the other athletes, because you might well find that they're actually answering your questions for you.
And if you're training in a squad or a group environment that's got quite a mixed ability, don't worry if you're not able to perhaps keep up. Speak to the coach and let them know, and they certainly should be able to adapt and amend the training to suit you. And that's only really you that you should be worrying about. Don't think about what the others are doing, just concentrate on yourself.
You spent your money, so make sure you get the most out of that investment. And I cannot reiterate enough that communication really is the key. So make sure you speak with your coach, they speak with you, and you share and enjoy that journey together.
Hopefully you've enjoyed this video that we've made today, so please give us the thumbs up and do leave some comments below. Remembering to click on the globe to subscribe and see all the other videos that we've done. And talking of that, there's another triathlon training explained about how to structure your training, and that's here.
And just recently, I went to Bahrain and caught up with the Norwegian trio and asked the question of whether triathlon is a team or an individual sport. You can find that video just down here.